I mean, I'm 65% of my portfolio is Bitcoin. Like I'm pretty boring investor. I'm looking for like value investing. I'm like, what do I think is going to be valuable in the future? And that's it. I do love the technology, but I don't really understand a lot of the culture. I think a lot of the culture, they're calling themselves investors. And this is said with love, but they're really gamblers. I was,
Yeah.
I spent a week in Vegas just now for me and the girlfriend went there and I've never gambled at a casino. I've never done that. Like I don't buy lottery tickets. I bet on myself. And I walked into a casino and I had $20. And if our operating expenses just sometimes on the low end are 30, 40 grand a month. Like $20 is nothing. I had to double, triple think of did I want to waste this $20 because I really dislike gambling. But I was like, okay, I'll have fun with this $20. We'll play some 25-cent machines, whatever. And I looked around and just all the people pulling these levers. And I just had this flashback to or this kind of vision of, I think a lot of people are doing that in crypto. We just don't see it because they're on their computers, but they're pulling the lever, just hoping to feel something and win something. And I was like, I love crypto, but I also feel like it's doing possibly more harm than good at the stage of development it's in right now. So we'll
Yeah,
see what
it's
happens.
interesting. I've thought about that too. The conclusion I came to at the end, though, is that I think crypto has attracted a lot of innovators and degens, as they like to call themselves. But arguably, that crypto just magnifies what already exists. So, for example, that degen nature exists in some form in trading, shares, in value investing. Not so much because you're chasing value, but sometimes you can get tied to something you think has value that might not, and it
Yeah.
turns out to be, a degen play in the end.
Right.
So crypto, I think, magnifies it, and the crypto developers have started chasing the fugazis the same way that fiat currency has, in the
Right.
sense that we just trying to create more of what it already
Yeah.
is. So,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it also has the potential to change
I
a
believe it.
lot of the fugazis and the mystifications of transactions in
I
the
believe
in the
it.
traditional world, right? So
I believe
it's
it.
tricky.
I think it's such a beautiful segue to talk about Project 79. We've got Dylan in the house, and you guys have been around for a little bit. I mean, for anyone who remembers the Hydro Whales, I remember it, and I never did anything about it. And then I saw how successful it was, and I was like, damn, these guys actually know what they're doing. And I know you've gone on to launch a few different successful projects, and I think Project 79 has gone through some transitions. So we sent a message out to our underdog investors, and they came back with some really good questions, but there was a trend to it. I think anyone could spend 10 minutes and go through the white paper and kind of understand the project. But I think a lot of people are kind of like, from an investor's point of view, they're looking at how, ultimately what is Project 79 up to. And I think you guys done a great job as marketers to like take a lot of complex information and make it as simple as possible. But I thought a quick conversation around it, like what is Project 79 as it is now? And then maybe we can get into the story of Hydro Whales all the way to what Project 79 is now. And then maybe we could talk about how investors can get in, or what's the opportunity for people.
Yeah, also some great questions. So Project 79 right now is a token marketplace in its simplest form. We're launching the tech stack in 5 weeks. So you can imagine you can log in to your dashboard. You'll be able to see different token offerings. And as an investor, you'll be able to choose which token best suits your investment strategy and then make a decision whether you want to invest or not. So Project 79 will be the ultimate marketplace. We want to bring opportunities or token based opportunities, house them in one place, and then let investors choose which one best suits them. It's worth noting, though, that the name is Project 79, and that's because 79 gold is this 79th metal on the periodic table.
Huh?
So the marketplace is gold focused. So it's a token marketplace, but all the tokens will be related to some kind of gold operation, whether that be a gold mine, it might be an exploration company, it might be a jewelry store. But
Got
in
it.
some instance, the token's utility will be that it will be tied to a business that deals in gold,
Got
if
it. I
that makes sense.
studied the history of gold a little while ago because I was so fascinated by its insane history. Like if you actually go down the rabbit hole of gold and like the wars and the bloodshed that's been, it's a pretty interesting history of it, but extremely valuable as well. So cool, totally makes sense. What's the journey to Project 79? Because I was in super early when Project 79 happened, not massive, a couple grand in there, but I liked what you guys were doing with the operations and with how you were thinking about that with the refining and all that. What's sort of the take me through the timeline of Hydro Whales to Project 79 token marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. So we launched Hydro Whales towards the end of the last NFT bull run. So there was a NFT bull run, a lot of money being made in NFTs, both from a project's perspective and from an investor's perspective. We ran an agency at the time. We used to build Shopify stores. We're doing pretty well building
Got it.
websites and
Same
marketing.
team-ish that's with you guys now. Very cool. I like that. It
Correct.
shows actually a lot when a team can stick together through the thick and thin. I did not know that the same team was all the way from back then.
The team has been working for, I'd say, 2 years previously before we even got into NFTs itself. And so, our core competencies was actually building websites and marketing. Then we saw a lot of the hype around NFTs. Like I'm sure a lot of people did. A lot of people hearing about Beeple, about Bored Apes. Almost every project was minting out at that time. Like in 10 seconds, it's unheard of in general retail in any sector. To sell out 10,000 products of whatever in seconds, right?
You guys are from a marketing background. I'm from a marketing background as well, and I was like trying to understand and reverse engineer it so I could sell my stuff out like they were doing, and I couldn't figure it out. I think it was narrative driven, a lot of it.
Exactly, and we went on the journey of trying to figure it out. We thought, okay, well, we have the right skills to launch an agency. We originally started with an agency, so we just changed our services from Web 2 website design to Web 3 NFT design and smart contract development.
Got it.
And then we decided to launch our own collection. That's where we met Adam Dignan, which is the other founder of Hydro Whales. And we launched Hydro Whales. And the idea behind that is we wanted a utility token. So something that had revenue, because we also couldn't figure out, similar to what you're saying about, the high PFP, we couldn't see the long-term sustainability of it from internally anyway. Of course, there's a place for it. So we decided to launch the Bitcoin miners. So the Hydro Whales is backed by 300 Bitcoin miners. That's what is the basis of the project. But we wanted to give back more to the Hydro Whales investors. And the long-term plan was to, instead of just taking the funds from the miners and distributing them, which we could do, we decided to take the funds from the miners and launch different initiatives, which could then gain traction. And then in the long term, the Hydro Whales would benefit even more.
Yep.
One of those projects was Project 79. That was the first one, actually, a launchpad project off the back of Hydro Whales. So it's worth noting that we went into launching Project 79 with a sold out NFT collection. Like you mentioned, it had started performing really well. So when we launched our second part of the sale for Hydro Whales, I think we sold like 5,000 in 48 hours. So it was pretty quick for a bear market.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a group of investors that supported us when we launched Project 79. Initially, it was a sacrifice model. So there was no token. People would sacrifice or stake a stablecoin. In most cases, it was an ETH stablecoin, and they would lock it up for 6 months. We would use those funds to complete gold trades. So in its simplest forms, we had contracts from a Uganda operation. We would buy gold, and then we would export it to Dubai and sell it to refineries in Dubai. And then the margin or the difference, we call it the arbitrage, we would then share that with the investors or the people that staked or sacrificed their stable coins.
And it was doing really well. It was like, if I remember, I was like 6 to 8%. Like I was really happy every time I saw the little monthly ding. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Gold is a in-demand commodity, not only from individual investors, but it's useful to remember that whole nations buy gold. individual governments have quotas for storing gold in their treasuries, and they look to buy gold. So it filters all the way from government or state level down to your most starter of investors. So someone that's brand new into investing might choose gold as a safe place to put their cash. And so um, there's a high demand for this, and we realized this. We had access to these contracts, and so we wanted to utilize it. The difference with us is that all gold operations require funding. Any business requires funding, and gold miners are not, they're not unique in any form. They need cash, they need equipment, and so we finance, we buy the gold from them, we sell at a higher price in Dubai. And that's because we had the buying power from the investors to set up good deals. It actually outperformed what we expected. So I think we did about 13 million in sacrifice funds. It was quite a large pool that we were trading. We were returning, like you mentioned, between I want to say 5 to 6, but I think there were some higher months. Like there were definitely higher months. Mm. That model has now closed. So in other words, it lasted for a year. Investors have been paid out their returns. Those that wanted to withdraw, they've also withdrawn all their funds. So that model, or that sacrifice model, has since been completed and since closed down now, because we've moved to this new token marketplace.
Yeah. I remember 3 or 4 months ago, I just chose to move everything over to the next model because I love y'all's, but I know that was probably 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. So we started transitioning, but the model was still open for people that chose not to transition. Yeah, and so it's right. Now officially ended, so that everyone in the old model, whether they transitioned or not, they have either withdrawn or they're in the new model. Right. So it's completely closed out. But it was a successful. It was a successful program. Like we closed it out. Returns were paid. People could withdraw. We now moved to this token marketplace because it's more scalable. We can discuss like why, but we felt it was a much better environment for both us as a project and for investors.
Got it. So if anyone's watching, because I know there was a few people's questions, I think almost everyone, maybe some people withdrew. They decided to stick in it, get a few extra months returns, and move to the next model. And so now with the new model, there's kind of 3 main opportunities. What are things looking like? Like when someone logs into Project 79, scrolls through, hits up their dashboard, like what are the opportunities that are available to them, or what are you guys working on behind the scenes? What's the next kind of iteration of this of Project 79?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's worth noting that when you log into Project 79, first of all, it's going to change in 5 weeks because we're launching our full tech stack. So it'll be a fully peer-to-peer marketplace where you can trade tokens, buy new tokens. It looks really nice. It looks really clean. And so it will look different in 5 weeks. However, right now, there's 3 opportunities that if you land on Project 79, you could get into. And I'll start off by saying that these 3 are just the initials. So they just the starting point for Project 79. The whole idea of Project 79 as a marketplace is that we're using the blockchain to tokenize real world businesses. So we can, for example, tokenize an unlimited amount of gold in theory. Gold-based businesses, right? Mm-hmm. The 3 that we have now are the 3 that we've managed to secure through our due diligence, through our vetting process, through the connections that we've already had. But how this is going to develop is that, let's say you're a gold miner. You're based in Australia. You're based in the Philippines. You're based in South America. You need access to funding. You want to start a mine. You want to buy equipment. And you think, okay, well, I would like to do this via the blockchain. Project 79 would be your partner. We would partner with gold mines. We would tokenize their opportunity, and we would make that available to crypto investors. So that's how it scales. The opportunities represent individual real world businesses. And so each token would be a different business or related to a different business opportunity.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, got it. Totally makes sense. And so that's launching in 5 weeks-ish, the new dashboard. So 5 weeks or so, people will get sort of the full meal deal, like the full experience.
Yeah. So in 5 weeks, you'll get the full experience, mainly what's missing right now is the peer-to-peer trading aspect
Got it.
of the marketplace. Right now, you can buy tokens, so you can
That's
invest into
right.
the
I'll even
pre-sales.
share here. I saw it here. Um,
Yeah,
these are the three main ones. Yeah.
exactly. So this is what I mean. So right now we have three businesses. So these are
Yep.
each different operations run by different operators. CEOs would have
Yep.
different teams behind them, similar to how you might have different teams running at different NFT projects on OpenSea. So
Yep.
Project 79 is like the OpenSea of tokens, except we focus on gold projects and we
Yes.
vet them. So OpenSea, anyone can just launch the NFT project on there, get a secondary market going. With Project 79, we have a more stringent vetting process. We would tokenize it all for them. So for example, in the case of Belcore, this is the project or the mine that everyone transitioned into.
That's right.
So Belcore is a working mine. They're based in Uganda. So in this case, all their registrations, their audits, their geology reports would come from Uganda because they're a Uganda operation. Now, we tokenize their economic rights. So what this means in Belcore's situation specifically is that they have 7.5 tons of gold underneath the ground. This is confirmed deposits. 7.5 tons is underneath the ground that still needs to be mined. Belcore has
Sounds like a lot. I
tokenized.
don't know much about gold mines, but I worked on oil rigs, but I think that sounds like a lot.
It is a lot. So it's
Okay.
a total value of around 400 million, I believe.
Got it.
Yeah. So we because a kg of gold, I believe right now 60K, 65K, ranging there.
Okay.
So it adds up really quickly. And when you actually see them, we've posted videos and stuff, by the way. You actually see a gold bar. It's so small for the value that it is.
Yeah,
It's
gold was
crazy.
the first investment I ever made. I was just buying ounces of gold because I didn't know where else to put my money and I didn't really trust fiat. So literally, and then when we left Canada, I was sitting on a big bag of gold and I'm like, I don't know, I can't bring this with me. And that's what got me into Bitcoin because I'm like, well, what's the next closest thing? Or like this stupid gold Rolex that's overpriced, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, I would rather wear gold on my wrist. Like I have a fascination with gold, Bitcoin as well. So I like what y'all are doing. Like the niche is so fascinating to me because there's inherent value and there's businesses built around it. It's not just a dead asset like a Bitcoin. It's being used. Like your iPhone, I would think probably has some gold elements in it. Maybe not, but you get the point. Like it's used on a lot of different levels. So
Yeah, well, I think it's Bitcoin and gold. I think people, investors especially, are attracted to it mainly because you can't print more of it like you
yeah,
can with fiat.
that's right.
It's one of those assets where Bitcoin is only ever going to be 21 million, and gold, in our case, there's 7.5 tons recoverable gold, and we can't just magically
Got it.
appear gold from. So
Yeah.
that's really attractive for a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah. What got me, honest question here, what got you into like y'all's went from digital marketing, websites, NFTs, hydromels, Bitcoin mining. What's the fascination with the niche of gold? Is it because you saw it as profitable? Is it because you just sort of stumbled on it? Someone on your team had expertise in it? Like, what's the decision around that? How did that decision come up?
Yeah, so it's a combination of all, to be honest. So, when we were thinking of launching our token initiatives, we wanted them all to have utility. So Hydrowells, the
Okay,
utility being Bitcoin. And so if we were going to launch any kind of marketplace or token, it needed to be something with utility. The second factor was that Adam Dignan knew Phil Burley, which is the operator of Burlcore. And
got it.
so he knew that Phil was doing this and approached Phil to say, hey, look, we've got this idea with Hydrowells and we want to create a launchpad project. Would this work for
Interesting.
you? That worked. He agreed. And so it just happened in that timeline
Cool.
that we were looking for utility. We knew Phil, and then we connected the dots and launched the sacrifice model. And then it's progressed into where we are now.
Got it. So that totally makes sense. So it's entrepreneurship is funny because it's looking back, all the dots connect, but sometimes you're looking at it and you're like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Like something doesn't make sense, but it looks like you have a track record of success, and that's probably down to your ability to solve problems. Um, Full stop. Like you're able to solve any problem that comes your way.
I think what's unique with the team is that we all have different expertise and skills. So my predominant skill is sales. I'm a career salesperson. Before we were speaking, discussed talking about how I worked on the speaking circuit. So
Right.
I brought in, okay, we should do live shows. We should go to live events. That's what we did when we launched Hydro Whales. Like we guerrilla marketed Hydro Whales at the beginning, handing out flyers on the train in in
Got
the
it.
UK. Things that
Cool.
didn't scale. We knew how this worked. And then Sam and Adam, they are cybersecurity experts. They also know how to
Yeah.
code and build websites. Anderson is a graphic designer, and he has designed for people like
It looks very
NBA,
good.
Tesco.
I'd say
So
Hydro Whales and everything that came after it, the marketing of it, because I look at marketing because I'm like, if you can't market something or sell it, no matter how valuable it is, it's not going to be successful. I see a lot of really good ideas die because the marketing's not there. And I'm like, Project 79, someone behind there knows the marketing, like the luxurious feel, like Rolex. Like every time I see a Rolex, I'm just like, I want that. Like I just, or we're looking at a Land Rover now. I'm just like, the marketing of it is so brilliant. A lot of projects really fail at that, and their value doesn't get communicated. So Project 79 is on point with that. When I go through all the material, I'm like, yep, clearly communicated, no extra sentences. Everything is to the point, and the value is, the features and benefits are communicated like with every line. And I'm like, yep, makes sense.
well, that's great to hear. And I know the team does put a lot of effort. We also try to reach out to experts where we can. So we do often get in like experts. We speak with
Yeah.
them. When you go to these events, you know it yourself. There's value in masterminds and groups and networks. So when you spend time in different places, you then just we do things that don't scale, like join different groups and turn up to their meetings and listen to
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
speaking, and you just try and understand and implement and try things, and then
Yeah.
over a long period of time, you then get an idea of what works and what doesn't, and
Yeah.
you apply more what does. And
Yeah. And I don't think it's all about scaling, because if you're scaling something that when you're out of touch and it's not working, I've experienced that. It's like sometimes the things that don't scale are great because you get a really real sample of what actually works so that you can scale on top of that.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. And
Yeah.
I think that's magnified with like Discord. I think the toughest part about a Web3 project is managing a community. I like NFT and crypto projects more. It's more alike to running an economy than to running a business.
Okay.
That's because each community now has their own individual
Yeah.
token that
Got it.
represents their nationality, shall we say?
Got it. Never thought of it that way. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, your value is tied, or you now have a price associated with the value that you bring, which is the same as a country or a nation, which is their currency. So it's unique in that sense. I suppose it was there before. A company's share price would indicate the market
Yeah.
sentiment and so forth. But
Yep.
because crypto markets are open all the time, the sentiment is trade. The blockchain is immutable, and it's just a
Super
different.
transparent too. Like it's like you see
Yeah,
what's going on.
exactly. So, we're seeing economies at scale. So I think as the blockchain,
Yep.
grows, we're going to see these mini communities form, which makes sense to me in the grand scheme of things. Like with how I don't really go too much into politics in crypto shows, but you have to sprinkle politics, I suppose, when you're speaking about financial systems,
Sure.
because it's the underpinning of it. And crypto is really at the forefront, and we want to onboard real world assets. So Project 79 understands that, okay, if blockchain is going to be a layer, or that the layer one of the internet, where we whatever's on the blockchain we trust, or it's our layer of trust, shall we say, and that formulates the internet, then it only makes sense that we're going to onboard real world businesses onto the blockchain. And that's
Yep.
including gold businesses, gold
Yep.
mines, gold stores. And so we just want to be early on the forefront of it, try and figure out the community building, the tech side of things, so that when everyone figures out that this is what's necessary, we are already in the right position.
And you have experience running an agency, so I can see that going in so many different ways. I think there's going to be a really big need. If anyone's listening, we attract a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do. I really think that there's going to be a really big need for agencies or experts to really onboard legacy companies or companies that are not even just people who don't know anything about Web3 to onboard it, because they're going to be they at some point they're going to say I'm going to be left out and my business is my baby, and so I will pay what I need to pay to someone who knows this. Just like 19-year-old social media founders of agencies, I'm just like, these kids were making $10 million a year because they understood social media, and that was valuable to someone who was 40. So I'm like, learn this stuff now. Read every blockchain book you can. Even if you don't understand it, just start reading it, because I think there's going to be, that's our future plan too, as an agency to onboard
I think
companies.
it's a great plan. There's going to be a massive need. I think it won't go away, and that's because you can still start a social media agency today and be pretty successful.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know loads of people. We were one of
Mm-hmm.
them. We weren't there when Shopify launched or when Facebook ads launched, but we
Before
managed
the
to
Kai Lopez
carve.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Knowledge.
Knowledge.
um, yeah. But you can even start an agency in Facebook today, and
Yeah.
so if you formulate an agency within blockchain or just within any kind of crypto, because there's a massive learning curve, people don't
Mm-hmm.
really get it, or they get it, but they don't understand how it applies to them
Mm-hmm.
when they should. Just like how Facebook, people didn't know how Facebook would apply to them, but now it's
Mm-hmm.
common knowledge that hey, your business needs to be on Facebook, or you need
Knowledge.
to have a website, right?
Yeah.
This is just how it is.
Yeah.
But 10 years ago, there was ad guys trying to sell websites and Facebook like there was no
Totally.
tomorrow, and people
We were knocking on
would
doors
pay
back then.
attention.
I knew people who ran their agencies knocking on doors, being like, hey, you guys need to, here's your website. Like, here's the improvement. Like, they were going door to door because people were still in the not communicating on social media like we are now.
Yeah, exactly.
So fascinating. So yeah, I think a lot of young or old, I mean, age is just a number depending on how you feel, but looking for opportunity, I'm just like, where is the most disruption going on? Finance right now. I think that's a massive industry that is going to be turned upside down. And how do you position yourself now? So in 5 years, you are an overnight success, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're so genius!" And you're like, "Nope, I just started 5 years ago. That's all."
Yeah, exactly.
And you guys done that. I think you guys are thinking ahead. It's really cool to see teams doing that. So if an investor is looking at, let's just break it down to the simplest thing. How are people making money? How does an investor make money with Project 79?
So there's two ways that investors can make money with Project 79. Number one is through monthly returns. These are project dependent. So you would have to look at the listings that we have on Project 79, because remember, each listing represents a different token, which represents a different business. And so thus, each opportunity would have different terms, different returns. And so in the case of Belcore, for example, there's two ways that you can make money as an investor. Number one, your token has a claim to unmined gold. So in Belcore's case, you buy a token, one token has the claim to $1,100 worth of gold, and that'll be paid out monthly over the course of 5 years, because that's how long it will take to recover all that gold, or that's how fast we expect to go. Number two, because it's a token, you can also make money from the token appreciating in value.
Got it.
So if the token goes up, this is something that most crypto investors understand. If the token goes up, you sell it for more, and you make your money that way. So those are the two primary ways. Now the rewards payout would vary per project. So it might be that one project has higher rewards for the time being, one has still to work up. There might be one like Sahara Star. Sahara Star is an exploration company, so there's no monthly returns, but they have mining rights the size of London. They're exploring that. If they find gold, they're selling those mining rights, and that big liquidity event, the buyout, is the payout, is the rewards that's going to be shared with investors. So it's not monthly, but that one's looking for more explosive returns because it's a buyout, it's a liquidity event.
Yep.
But each project will have some kind of return tied into it.
Very cool. Very cool. And so I'm guessing, because I was messing around today. I was like, I think I was paid like $88 or something on something, but I was going around. I only have like $2,500 or something that was moved into the project. But I'm guessing in 5 weeks, investors will be actually able to see the details and the fine print of different businesses and different projects, which I myself am like, this is where people start moving from gamblers to investors, is they can actually look at a business, they can look at the value proposition, they can look at like what problem is it solving, and you can own, which blows my mind because as entrepreneurs, we know the crap we go through, and I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on bad decisions, and the stress and the sleepless nights and the visits to hospitals when you were still learning how to regulate your stress and become a stronger person, all that. It's like you don't have you don't have to become an entrepreneur to make a lot of money. Investors make a lot of money too. And if you could ride the coattails of entrepreneurs who are building, and you can invest some money. And to me, I'm like, you don't have to be an accredited investor anymore. You can put a couple grand here, a couple grand there, and be able to ride the emotional waves and be able to learn about business without actually signing an LLC and putting your assets on the line in case you fail, which to me is fascinating that we're moving into that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we were saying earlier, you buy a token, you essentially, getting into a economy, a
Yeah.
community. And in our case, is in Project 79 case, it's a gold economy. So, you buy a token in Project 79, and then you tuning into the operators. So each project has a really experienced operator. That's the only way they would make it onto Project
Yeah.
79. And
Yeah.
they're going to be, delivering on how they got the operation up and running, what's the value. You're learning a lot in between.
Yep.
You then getting to see what value means, because you're seeing how the market reacts to different announcements, and you're seeing how the sentiment is within the community. And so if you're interested in that kind of stuff as an
Yeah.
investor or as an
Very cool.
entrepreneur, if you just stand back and watch like from the outside with a keen eye, then it's a very interesting process to watch. But I agree, like in 5 weeks, when we have a SaaS kind, more like a SaaS, really impressive website, because the issue that it's not an issue, but it is a slight problem for me as a community manager, is that everything is all over the place right now. So
Yeah.
some people are getting a
Yep.
little bit confused as to where everything is.
Yep.
So I'm really looking forward to, everything can be in one place.
Yep.
You click on, we have tried to implement some ideas like switching up the website and, making one dashboard, but ultimately the goal is for the marketplace. The audits are all there, the
Yep.
white papers, the
Yep.
documents.
Very
You can
cool.
trade, you can buy, and it'll just be really cool.
Yeah, I'm the most patient human. It's like I'm just like patient. I just like when it comes out, it comes out. But when I go into, that's why I stay on a Discord, because I go into Discord, I'm like, these community managers sometimes have a heyday because I'm like the same question is asked 600 times over and over from impatient people, and I get it. It's people's money tied up, so like I get it. But I'm like, ooh, that is a you have your work cut out. But you guys are doing a fantastic job of it, and we're looking forward to. Hopefully, this video helps clear up some of those confusions because I've been getting asked the same questions, and I was like, I really don't know. Like, I'm sure like we'll know soon. So I think this video will clear up a lot of confusion for our community as well, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having us on. I mean, it's guys speaking with guys like you, and we do it with a couple other guys within the community. We're great to do this more often to update
Yep.
anyone. We're more than happy to come on live shows or
Yeah.
recorded
Cool.
shows even,
Cool.
because most of the team is doxed. We all speak front facing.
Yeah, you guys are great
So
communicators. You know how to communicate really, really well, which is awesome to see.
thank you, and I hope we can only get better, because our goal is to be the number one tokenization platform out there. It's going to take
Let's
a lot of
go.
educating. It's going to take a lot of marketing and messaging. And so, we know what works. And ultimately, working with guys like you has a massive impact. It has the best impact that I've seen in a long time, because it's the same like when other projects come to work with Project 79. Like we each have our own individual
Got it.
communities, and that makes an impact when you bring a community, and there's power in community, right? And so when you interlink communities, and that's essentially how I see it scale versus I don't know the exact term, but like just hammering and just putting things out there. What we'd rather do is
Yep.
spend a lot more time collaboratively with other communities and work that way.
I love it. I love it. And I do think that's the new, from what I've seen, even just in the business or just in entrepreneurship, I'm like, it's collaboration over competition. And that's always been true because just collaboration vibrates at a higher frequency than competition anyways. So at the end of the day, it always wins. But that is changing a lot. Like I see a lot of even people who businesses or influencers or leaders who would normally be competing starting to collaborate and create one stage, and they're thinking win 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 instead of how do I crush this. And so I think you guys are thinking on the right wavelength. This is more than enough for everyone. Crypto used to be a $0 trillion market cap. There was nothing. And now it is a $1 trillion market cap, something created from nothing. And ideas have the power to change the world. And I was like, and that's just starting. I'm like, it's going to be a $10 trillion market cap. There is more than enough for everybody. So let's collab type stuff. In the Underdog
Absolutely.
Investor Group, we're going to start bringing in experts, developers, sometimes influencers. We've had a few yeses from people, but we'd love to have Project 79 to come speak to our community if you're ever open to it. We're going to hold little panel discussions as well in the future. So,
Yeah. So
bring the panel.
even if it's not about Project 79, even just if it's conversations around marketing or
Yeah,
tokenization, it doesn't necessarily have to be like
totally.
promo related.
That's what we wanted
More
to
than
do is
happy.
like keep project related stuff on YouTube because it's great for your guys' marketing. It's great for everybody. But to our actual investors and our actual members, it's like they're hungry for picking the brains of really smart people and understanding where is this technology going, because they're thinking as investors now, not just what's the best project, how does the ecosystem work and what's happening in the future. And if Project 79 is a piece of that, but I think there's so many great projects out there and there's going to be even more. And so just to bring in leaders to be able to speak about the technology itself and how it's evolving, you guys are on the front lines of it. So we'd love to have you. We'll set that up for August if you're open to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Awesome.
Sweet. And any final little, if you wanted to send a little message out to the community or just to the community at large or just to anyone watching, is there anything you'd want to end with? Big ask, not putting you on the spot or anything.
No, no, I would just say that, of course, spend time looking through all the information that we put out there. We try to do the best we can. We put out white papers, we put out videos, we have project specific AMAs, we put content, so actual videos and pictures of the sites. And so if you head over to Belco, for example, they have a whole Twitter feed showing them building the site from ground up. So it's a really cool
Cool.
process to watch through. What I would say is go through all our everything that we've put out there, and then once you have a grasp of what we're trying to build, then make a decision on whether one of the projects are worth investing in. Because I think it's important to have an idea of the overarching goal of what we're trying to do with tokenization, and then you would start to grasp the individual projects themselves. So you're like, okay, well, I understand tokenization. Now I understand Bullcore and why the opportunity is worthwhile. And since we have three, they're all different from each other. Hopefully something meets your needs. And if not, then don't feel like you have to invest, because we will bring more projects onto the platform over the next few months and over the next few years. And so just stay tuned and just keep watch of everything that we're trying to do at Project 79.
Got it. Appreciate you all for doing what you do, and I'll be rooting for you. I'm cheering for you hard.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Appreciate it.